Well, it's box office top 10 time. Brought to you with our very good friends at ComScore Movies. Mark, when you need a top 10, where do you go?
I always go to ComScore. They always bring me pastries as well. So it's a great service. You get your snacks, you get your refreshment, and you get your movie charts.
So who could ask for more? At number 24, Made in England, the films of Powell and Pressburger.
I mean, I love this partly because I'm a huge fan of Powell and Pressburger, partly because it's really nice to see Martin Scorsese, who is the great champion of Powell and Pressburger, getting a chance to tell us why it is that he loves their film so much. And also, it's very well put together. If you get a chance to see it on a big screen, do, because the clips look beautiful.
Number 10 is Godzilla Kong, The New Empire.
Still hanging on in there, still doing exactly what it did before. Crashy, bashy, smashy, big hulky monsters shouty, banging each other.
Oh, by the way, I forgot, Paul Travers on Made in England. He says, magical couple of hours and now keen to see the Powell and Pressburger films I've missed, which is, of course, the point.
There we go.
So that's at 24. Perfect. Godzilla Kong at 10. In America is number 5. Number 8 in the States. Number 9 here is Civil War.
I mean, it's interesting that Civil War, it's still in the charts. So people are still going to see it. The conversation seems to have died down a little bit. I expected that to carry on a little bit longer. I mean, I'm still thinking about it. I still think it's fascinating. I still think the weakest stuff is the relationship between the older and younger photographer. But I think as a depiction of America at the moment, it looks increasingly like a documentary.
Love Lies Bleeding is at number 8.
Which I absolutely loved, and I really want people to go and see it. We had an email, I think it was last week, from somebody who saw it under the worst possible circumstances in which there was open hostility happening in the cinema. Go and see it on the big screen. She's a brilliant director, and the performances are great, and it's such a witty, smart, fun, Cronenbergian, scrungy, tactile movie. I loved it.
UK number 7 is La Chimera. Mark from the Netherlands. I saw La Chimera a few weeks ago in a Dutch theatre, going in blind except for the words adventure, comedy and fantasy as used by IMDb to categorise the film. I mean, I'm not sure that works particularly. Anyway, while those 3 elements are all present in the film to some degree, Italian men getting angry at one another is never not funny. What I experienced first and foremost was a wistful, slow-burning study of loss, moral responsibility, and the connection between the old world and the new. Also, a motif in 2017's Call Me By Your Name. A few jarring moments aside, I felt entranced by the film's dreamlike, timeless atmosphere, but I found it frustratingly difficult to connect with Arthur emotionally. Also, a shower surely wouldn't have killed him, now would it? In the end, La Chimera did not quite click with me, but some of its golden hour moods and images lingered in my mind for days afterwards. Up with red threads and down with statue heads. Mark in the Netherlands, thank you.
Well, Alicia Rawvach has said that people might say the film is difficult. She said, fine, let it be difficult. All art shouldn't be easy. As far as the suit thing is concerned and the fact that he hasn't had a shower, I was thinking, I haven't seen a suit look that scummy since Mickey Rourke in Angel Heart. When Mickey Rourke is a similar thing. He's got a kind of a white suit that looks like he's slept in a gutter in it. I think La Chimera is really interesting, and I have thought about it more and more since I saw it, and I do love Josh O'Connor in it, and he does dishevelled rather brilliantly.
He owns that suit now. So
no one else would
there was
have
obviously something in it that he wanted to possess it. That's true. Kung Fu Panda is at number 6. Taro's at 5.
Not press screen, so I haven't seen it yet. We'll catch up with it, honestly.
You absolutely won't. Maybe when it comes out on video, you'll see it. Back to Black's at 4, so it's still hanging on in there.
Yeah, and if you remember the amount of sort of hostility and negativity before it opened, and then actually it's done pretty well. I mean, people are carrying on to it, and for a pop biopic, that's not bad at all.
Challenges is at number 3 here, number 3 in the States as well.
Sexy Tennis. I had a really interesting discussion with somebody yesterday. There was 2 people, and one of them had found challenges challenging, and the other one had found challenges absolutely thrilling. And I realised that I'm definitely in the absolutely thrilling camp, because I do, again, Josh O'Connor. I mean, how amazing that Josh O'Connor has got a Chimera and challenges in the charts at the same time. And I think it's my favourite Luca Guadagnino film, and I think that the final match in which all this weird stuff is playing out, between the balls, as it were, is really, really well done. I think it's witty and funny, and I liked it a lot.
The Fall Guy is at number 2 in the States and number 2 in the UK as well.
I told you that there was an article in Variety that said that they thought that the reason it had underperformed at the box office was because The Fall Guy was not the familiar IP that they thought it was. And I was wondering whether that is the case or whether it's something else. And it's funny, as I said, when I saw The Fall Guy, I came out and immediately afterwards I saw a critic who said, well, that was terrible. And I thought, have we just seen the same film? And maybe it is a case of you get from the movie what you bring to it. I just thought it was a really smart popcorn movie, and I'm just surprised that it hasn't done better. I mean, yeah, it's number 2, but it hasn't set the box office alight, and I imagine that it would do.
Interesting, the top 3 here is the top 3 in America. Exactly the same. Challenges, The Fall Guy and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is at number 1. Anthony Wright says, I loved it. This could have been an action-only film, but this is a very mature, character-driven film with some thrilling action sequences where you care about the characters and builds up nicely to its conclusion. It could have very easily been just a money-making rip-off of the first 3, but no, this version is very respectful to the others. Mark didn't mention how the film addresses the question of apes and humans living together instead of one or the other dominating the same land and all the moral problems behind that. I'm looking forward to the next one. Someone who appears to be called And Writing. What Mark doesn't like about the first hour, I actually liked. It gave us time to invest in the setup, and you really got a sense of the world, something which doesn't happen often in big movies these days. I liked that it took some time. It felt reminiscent of 80s movie making. On the whole, I'm not a massive ape movie fan. I found the last 3 too gloomy, but this was a solid, well-crafted, slightly old-fashioned adventure movie.
Okay, well, that's interesting. I've spoken to other people who said that they like the slowness of the first hour and they like the world building. I am an Apes movie fan, particularly the first 5, because they were, when I was growing up, they were kind of biblical texts for me. And I do like the most recent trilogy because of the darkness of it, because I still think that, like the Apes films were at their best. I mean, Beneath the Planet of the Apes is completely mad with all the people pulling off their own skin and worshipping the cobalt bomb. And that's just really, really strange. So maybe it's that it's finding a different audience, and maybe it's to do with expectations. But I said I did struggle for the first hour, and then I thought by the time it got to the end, it's a very good setup for the next film. I just thought it was a very long way. It's a long walk up the garden path before you get to the front door.
Right. I quite like that imagery, I must say. So a long garden path, which often can be quite a pleasant experience, but you thought that maybe the garden path was too dull.
No, I'll tell you what it is. I've been listening to a series, which is a series of interviews with Paul McCartney about his songwriting, yes, which I can't remember what it's called, but you've probably heard it. And the one that I just recently listened to was The Long and Winding Road, in which he talks about that metaphor. And I think I've probably just stolen it from him. I love that song.
Fair enough. If you're going to steal from anywhere, you might as well steal from Paul McCartney.